This instructional video is about the 24-step Tai Chi form, which is performed in official competitions for the under 11 age group. And students who participate in these competitions often don't achieve good results, or they don't know what judges expect from the 24 form performance. In this comprehensive video, I'll thoroughly teach you all the essential judging tips and precisely how to effectively teach the intricate 24-step Tai Chi form to young children so their developing bodies can properly grow and also achieve truly good and impressive results in various competitions. So watch this video until the very end because every part of it is important. To help us learn together, I've taught one of my students the 24 form of Tai Chi. This way, you and I can follow this training together under the same conditions. First, it's best to watch the complete performance of the form. Then, as it's being performed, I'll provide the necessary explanations. The first thing to note is that when working with children, you need to be very patient. The human body has evolved for eating, walking, sleeping, running away, and generally for survival, not for performing the 24 form of Tai Chi. So if a child can't perform a specific movement, don't be too hard on them. Shorten the movement. Break it down into several shorter movements so they can understand and learn it more easily. Following this video, you can start teaching the 24 form to children and ask them to make their movements similar to the ones shown here. It's not important that they perform the technique perfectly. And in this video, you'll see very subtle mistakes in the movements, the kind that judges look for, and my student is performing them now. At the end of the video, we'll review all these movements one by one so you can understand what judges expect from a performance of the 24th. Even the smallest movements can have a huge impact on your student's classification and ranking. And finally, after we've reviewed all these mistakes, points, and minor errors, I'll show you a corrected version of the form performed again by the very same student. And you'll see that if we patiently review the mistakes in detail and offer solutions, what a big difference it makes in the performance. Alright, let's carefully and thoroughly review the form and meticulously observe what mistakes might appear correct on the surface but are actually quite wrong. The very first and most fundamental one is that the wrist should absolutely never, under any circumstances, go above shoulder level unless you are performing a very specific and distinct technique such as spreading the crane's wings, which I will explain in much more comprehensive detail later. So that is indeed the first significant and common mistake. The precise way you hold the ball should look exactly like this. The elbows should form a graceful semicircle, and the upper elbow shouldn't be too close to the shoulder. It should simply hang down naturally and freely like this. Now, that is perfectly correct. He then takes the step, and here is a truly important and crucial point. In this particular technique, the fingers of the left hand should be facing directly forward. Some people perform this technique in a different manner, but that is actually incorrect. The initial technique, where the fingers face the opponent, is actually a very effective and efficient way to lock the opponent's shoulder. This specific technique is primarily used for locking, so please make sure your hand is facing directly forward here. In this angle too, you can clearly see the hand is facing forward. Never ever strike with the back of your hand. In this position, we performed one technique 3 distinct times, spreading the crane's wings. In this particular case, you are permitted to raise your wrist. This is the only time you are allowed to have your wrist above shoulder level. Pay very close and careful attention. Both hands rise together in perfect unison. After the right hand is fully up, the left hand and left foot start moving together and finish together. Defense, defense. And here, pay careful attention. The elbow should move precisely in the direction I am showing you. This current position isn't quite right. It's not a clear or obvious mistake, but the Group B judge might consider it in the scoring. If you guide the right elbow a little bit backward, it will be much better. In Tai Chi, we have done an empty stance. You can use your heel as clearly shown in the video or your toes. Just maintain your own consistent posture. The retreat is done correctly. Toes, heel, and a smooth shifting of weight backward. Now here's the technique of striking with the back of the hand. We strike the opponent with the back of the hand. There is absolutely no locking involved, unlike the first technique where we lock the opponent's arm. Here, first, we strike with the back of the hand, and in the very next movement, we lock the opponent's arm, pull it firmly toward ourselves, and finally push. Here, another mistake is made. He's moving his body to the right, but hasn't turned his right foot. This can put undue pressure on both the knee and the ankle. First, the right foot should be completely freed and turned, then the weight should be carefully shifted. If the Group B judge sees this, they can certainly consider it in the scoring. So if some students get penalized here, it's not for nothing. The judge didn't lower their score without a valid reason. They just didn't pay sufficient attention to these fine, intricate details. Again, we perform the very same technique to the other side. Tai Chi often appears slow, and many people say it's easy, but there are so many subtle points that if you don't observe them diligently, you'll definitely get a low score. Now look here, the weight transfer is done correctly. As the body moves to the left, the right toes also move in perfect harmony and coordinate precisely with the transfer. But the important point is that the left hand is still up and finishing its movement, but the fingers of the right hand haven't yet reached the tip of the left elbow. The Group B judge can also consider this in the scoring. The left hand finishes its movement and goes down, and only then does the right hand reach it. The very same thing happened here. In the next technique, you can clearly see the weight is fully transferred to the left foot, but the strike hasn't been executed yet. In Tai Chi, strikes are always performed with weight transfer. Here, no actual force is applied to the opponent, and the Group B judge can consider this for a lower score. Exactly here, the same thing happened. The left hand finishes its movement, but the right hand hasn't reached it yet. On this side too, the tip of the left hand should now reach the right hand, but it hasn't, so the body coordination hasn't happened here. The feet shouldn't be too close together. There should be at least a foot's width between them, approximately shoulder width apart. Here too, the same mistakes were made. If you noticed, the weight transfer was done onto the left foot, but the strike hasn't reached its final point yet. The hand hasn't turned. After sitting down, the strike is delivered, so this technique was performed incorrectly, and the Group B judge and form inspector can deduct points for this. When performing the Ding Jiao technique, which we do in the 24 form, the strike is with the heel. Hold the Tixi technique for 2 full seconds, then deliver the strike. It's not strictly necessary to hold for exactly 2 seconds, but to show the Group B judge that you possess both flexibility and sufficient leg strength, we display this 2-second hold. It's a clear demonstration of leg power and body flexibility. In Pubu stances, make sure the front foot turns inward. Here, it was done correctly, the Golden Rooster technique. Then we go back to the Pubu stance. Here, it's wrong. They can certainly call this a mistake. The front foot hasn't fully turned inward, which can indeed be a mistake. Again, the Tixi technique is correct. The hand turns and is placed above the head. Pay very close attention to the Gongbu here as well. The Gongbu stances should not have any mistakes. The knee should not go past the toes. Otherwise, over time, the knee will get injured and it will also be counted as a mistake. Here as well, the Gongbu technique and stance are performed. In some forms, kids tend to sit in a Mabu stance here, or what's called the horse stance, but in this case, the Gongbu technique and stance must be performed. For the tiger hunt step, the right hand and right foot should move together in a synchronized and continuous motion. The left hand and left foot should also execute the technique simultaneously. The transfer of weight must finish at the same time as the punch is delivered. Otherwise, the Group B judge will deduct points from the individual. These are the subtle points that kids often overlook, which is why they end up with low scores. Now look here, he did it correctly by first moving his right foot and then shifting his weight. This is the proper way to do it.